Hi, this is Bill Boggs. Welcome to Midday. I want you to take a close look at these women because on today's show we're going to be talking about their relationship. Take a close look. What do you think they have in common? Well, I'll tell you what they have in common. These women are all sisters. Now, can you guess who goes with whom? All right, show us. Go ahead. Now we'll take a close look. Oh, come on, let's get it right, girls. Who goes with whom? Now, get to your sister. All right, now let's take a close look at the sisters as you see them together. And I'll tell you this, in today's program, we're going to be talking about the complex bond between sisters, the competitiveness, why some sisters are closer than others, how sisters' relationships affect their relationships with others, and lots more. Also on today's program, we have Letty Cotton Pogrom talking about family politics. But first, stay with us and meet the author of Sisters. Well, it's good to have you with us, and we're talking sisters, big sisters, little sisters, 5 sisters in a family. That's what we're talking about today, and our program is inspired by Dr. Dale V. Atkins, who is the author of this book, Sisters, a practical, helpful exploration of the intimate and complex bond between female siblings.
Mouthful.
That's what sisters are all about, huh?
It really
How do you
is.
get along with your sister, Doc?
I get along very well with her.
Really?
And talk about inspiring. She was a major inspiration for the book.
Why did you choose to write a book on sisters? Did you find there wasn't really a lot of literature, modern literature available on the subject?
You know, there's so much literature about the fantasy bond, this wonderful, wonderful connection that so many women I've met say, how come I don't have a better relationship with her? There isn't anything around that can teach me how to get closer to her, or talk about what the variables are that influence the relationship itself. So I thought it would be necessary to write a book that would have to do with a helpful guide for how people can understand a little bit more about their relationship. And that's why I did it.
How does the actual family structure affect the way that sisters end up, the kind of relationship that sisters have?
Well, the structure has a lot to do with it, where they are, what the birth order is, whether there are boys in between the sisters in the lineup, whether the parents got along when the sisters were young and whether they continue to get along, what the economic situation was. There were so many variables, but the structure, whether the parents are single parents or divorced, or whether there are stepsisters, half-sisters, there's so many variables that it all affects how these girls get along as children and what their relationship will be like into adulthood.
I know. I read about, reading your book and reading material about it, about 2 older sisters, but every time they go back home, they're like what? Teenagers
yes,
again. And they really pick up that same relationship.
They fall right back into patterns that they might have had when they were youngsters. And one of the things that I see with sisters is that even though they may be very accomplished in their own worlds, in their own right, when they go back, if they haven't been able to become really true individuals in their own right and develop a relationship with their sisters outside of their family, they can fall right back into it. Sometimes parents perpetuate it, sometimes just being in the same 4 walls that they grew up in makes them feel like, okay, this is who I was when I was a little girl, this is who I still am in this household. And it's not like who they are outside.
What is a sister by choice? What do you mean by that term?
A sister by choice is a person, a woman with whom another woman feels very, very close, almost like a sister. And I find that women who have biological sisters or women who don't have biological sisters can form very, very close bonds, friendship bonds, which they consider like sisters.
How does competition affect the long-range relationship between sisters or among sisters?
It can be good and bad. It can, we have the McGee sisters, for instance, the basketball players from USC, who compete with each other daily and who have a very loving relationship outside of the basketball court.
One made the Olympic team and the other didn't, correct?
Yeah, and they've talked about that. I think that competition can be healthy, it can be kind of sparring, it can also be very difficult. If the competition, is for the parental love and the parental favor, in childhood, that kind of competition can follow one through into adulthood. So sometimes we see women competing in their adult arenas about issues that just weren't resolved when they were younger, and that's very difficult.
What should a parent know, what should parents know if they have two daughters who are born very close together? What are the potential problems in that formulation?
One of the major potential problems is, and we see it very much with twins, is to be able to develop individual identities so that these young girls do know who they are as separate from their sisters, that they don't get issues of their own histories confused. Sometimes with twins we find that women don't remember what happened to them. Did it happen to me or did it happen to my sister?
Really?
Yes.
How do sisters and their relationships with each other go on to affect their relationships with men?
That also depends on the relationship that they have together, whether or not they're willing to have another person in their lives. In the women I've interviewed through the seminars I've offered, there have been many people who, and I've talked about them in the book, who've talked about men coming into their relationship very, very unwillingly. They haven't wanted them to get into the secrets that they have shared with their sisters.
I know, I read that, and it seemed that was one of the things that seemed difficult for me to understand, because it seems that a space that sisters occupy in each other's lives would be totally different than a space that they would be occupying with a man.
Yes,
a husband or whatever.
Indeed, I believe it should be. And what happens is that so often when there are very, very close sisters who have shared so much of themselves, they think that, well, I should be able to tell these kinds of things to this other person in my life. And indeed, they probably don't even need to be.
Or they don't need to?
They may not need to be in that realm, in their love life, or they just may not be appropriate in that area.
What happens at a sister seminar?
Lots of women.
You conduct sister seminars.
Yes, all over the country. And these are for women who have sisters or who have lost their sisters. Women may come together with their sisters or without them.
What's the object?
The object is to understand why we are in the situation we're in as adults, they're for adult women, why we feel the way we do about our sisters and what we can do to enhance the relationship we have. Some women come with very close feelings towards their sisters, and they really celebrate the joys that they have together. Other women come without their sisters because they may be estranged from them.
And they're still trying to get over the unresolved stuff from their childhood with their sisters.
A lot of women do come.
It's never worked out in some cases.
In some cases it's not, and we may have sisters who are estranged for 20, 30 years who will come to a sister seminar still with this person in her heart. She may be alive, she may be dead. So I have found over the years that women who come to the seminars bring with them this person who's very close to her.
You've been hearing conversation with Dr. Dale V. Atkins, who is the author of this book, which is called Sisters. Now, we have 7 women seated on our main platform here, including your sister. It's a big crowd. I'm going to be down in another chair. Could we have like a miniature sister seminar? Could we get into some of the questions that you ask?
Sure.
In the next segment?
I would love to.
I think it'd be interesting, okay? So why don't you I'll take your mic off, why don't you go over there and join your sister, and we'll be back and continue our special midday program devoted to the love and some of the not so much love among sisters. We'll be right back. I can't believe that we're playing the Stanley Siegel theme song on this program. Anyway, welcome back. We're live on midday, and I hope if maybe you'd like to participate in this program with your sister, give your sister a call right now, because I think you're going to enjoy this. As you can see, seated behind me, we have 4 sets of sisters. Let me introduce them to you. Let's go back to Dr. Dale Atkins. Hi, Dale. Nice to see you. Dale, introduce your sister, please.
This is my sister, Daryl Roth.
Hi, Daryl. Daryl, what do you do?
Well, I'm a mother of 2 lovely children. I'm married, and I also have an interior design firm in New Jersey.
Okay, thank you very much. Now, this is Liz Lemon.
Yes. Hi,
Hi,
I
Liz.
model, and my sister and I have just started our own company. It's called Clear to the Ear. And it's
Clear to the Ear?
That's it.
And your sister's name is Bri Lemon. What's the company like? What's it about?
It's earrings.
It's
Custom
earrings.
jewelry, yeah.
Do you want to show us your little earring that you've got on your left ear today?
Wow.
This is for Canal Jean Company.
Okay, good. Now we have 2 other sisters here. This is Thurla Martin. Thurla, it's nice to meet you. Thurla, introduce your other sister. Your sister.
This is my sister, Stacia Henderson.
But you're not the only 2 sisters in the family, correct?
No, we have 2 more.
2 more sisters.
Yes.
Well, we can only get so many people on the platform today. And here's Kate McGrath. Kate McGrath is the owner of KM Productions, a production company specializing in fashion, beauty, and entertainment, right?
Right.
right?
This is my sister Charlotte.
Charlotte, nice to have you with us. Charlotte, you work with your sister Kate, and according to my information, you're the baby in the family,
The girl.
the younger sister,
Younger
and,
sister,
and the
but-
friend to Kate.
Maybe not anymore if you gave him that information.
Well, we had to get it from someplace. Okay, what are some of the what's a way you would kick off a meeting with sisters like
Okay,
this?
what I would have done beforehand if we were in a real seminar is that I would have talked about some of the variables that affect the sisters' relationship, give a little history, so people can kind of have an idea of what's going on. And then I would do as you just did, introduce the panel,
Right.
and ask specific questions about some of these variables. I just heard a few things like the labels, the kid sister, the young sister. I noticed that two of the women are dressing alike. It seems as if there's always a sister seminar where two women come dressed alike. Now, did you know that?
No.
See?
They answered alike, too.
And I would talk about sometimes what we think about when our sisters aren't with us. We know they're thinking about them. There's kind of this almost like a telepathic Thank you. Telepathic connection. And with the twins, I would want to know how they were able to maintain their individual identity. Twins have sometimes a difficult time with that, why there wasn't competition between them.
Oh, let's find out about that.
Well, because I think we weren't really treated like twins. We were just treated as two people that happened to be the same age and came around the same time. And we were just treated like two sisters and not. My parents just were very, you do your thing. She was into ballet, I was into singing, and we each had something that we did really well. And we kind of rooted each other on. Like when she would dance, I was really happy for her, and I would kind of stay out of that.
Well,
I would let her
that
do her
sounds
own
very
thing.
healthy. I mean, it sounds
Yeah, it
as if
really worked out really
your
well.
parents must. What would you suppose? There's a young family watching now, a young mother and father watching now, and they have twins, and their twins
Right.
are just 9 or 10 months old, little baby twins.
Right.
What would one guideline be that you could offer them?
Okay, I'd say a parent would look at two people and say, well, this one seems to be, good at, let's say, dance. Like she was really a great dancer, and just push them that way. And I was always into singing. I was a tomboy, and I just did my thing. So they kind of just took those two things and let us, not take the one thing and both do it. I didn't dance with her. She went to her classes, and I went to my classes separately. I was like, a jock. I was into tennis, and I did my tennis, and she didn't. So we kind of didn't ever have to compete because we were always
was
doing
that an
different
important thing for your own survival? I think it seems
Yeah, I
that
think it was.
you didn't really want to compete. You had your area.
No, we were happy. Like I knew that she was a great dancer, and when she dances, I leave her alone and I sit back and I watch and I say,
She cheers.
I cheer her on. I say, God, that's great. You're a great dancer, and I don't feel like I have to get up and do it. I don't even want to. I let her take the stage. I know that's what she does best.
But you're doing all the talking.
She's the aggressive one. I'm the aggressive one.
All right, labels. Let's take them out a minute, because sometimes labels can be good for people if they're positive, and sometimes they can be very limiting and negative. Right? Help us get some of the labels. out
Okay,
there.
one of the things that I wanted to point out that was just mentioned is this was done, the separation was done, it seems to me, in a very healthy, positive way. Not that she's doing this and you can't do it. And that's the encouragement that I think parents need to be able to give their children. You said she's the aggressive one. I always ask women to, ask if their perceptions of themselves are similar to
Match
their
them,
sisters' perceptions.
Well, then
And
let's run that by.
what would you call yourself? What's the label you were given, Kate?
Well, I'm the first of 6 children, so I was somewhat of the surrogate mother, being the first. And when I would babysit and take care of my 3 younger brothers and my 2 younger sisters, I was always saying, no, you can't do this, you can do this, and you should wear that dress. I didn't do anything with my brothers. I couldn't tell them what to wear. But and they all were taller than me then. But I was sort of thinking my way was the best. I went so far as to give my sister a permanent. I wanted to see how it would look, but I tested her out.
I wore a hat
I
for a
lightened
week.
her hair. I think that the perception has changed immensely for the best, but she was my younger sister and my little baby sister. So that was it.
But just stop and think for a second. All of the input you get all your life as the older one, the one who's a surrogate mother, and the one who's labeled as the baby. How just sitting here now, I'm not trying to stir up trouble, but it must affect the whole environment in which you grow up. If you're constantly labeled the baby, and you got somebody else who's older labeled the mother, tell us what you're thinking about.
Well, as a result of that, I spent a lot of time with my brothers rather than my sisters in growing up. I was a tomboy, and so they were better to play with. And they had the equipment. They had the mitt. She didn't have a mitt. She had curlers. So in growing up, I really didn't feel like I knew my sisters that well growing up. And it's very nice now. I think I've rediscovered them within the past
I guess that's
about
something
5 years.
that comes out.
That happens a lot with the seminars, and I think especially with the two of you, you're working together now, and you have to now get to know each other as individuals and as competent women in their own rights without those labels of being the kid or being the mother, because that won't work in a work relationship, in most work relationships where you really are developing equality. I would ask...
No, you go ahead, go ahead.
I was just going to ask you what the labels were that each of you had, either by your parents giving them to you or what you took on as your own labels.
You first, you're the oldest.
She just said you first, you're the oldest.
Well, I feel sort of like a mother also. I'm the oldest of 7, although Sassy and I are close in age, very close. So I think we were sort of competitive in being mommy to the younger ones.
What was your label? What did you think you were? Some labels are the pretty one, the smart one, the jock, the
studious one.
The studious one,
The
the
outgoing, the
creative.
self-centered one.
Precisely.
Yeah.
She is the oldest. She was always the boss. Still is. She's still the boss.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I looked up to her. You know, like she was. She was like, she's my best friend. You know, we've done everything together. We lived together for up until like 3 years ago. You know, all our lives.
Yes. This living together, sometimes when women live together, they share their own rooms. And Margaret Mead talks about how common it is for older women, after they've lost their spouses, to choose to live with one another because they're used to the patterns of their life together and they can trust each other. They may go through waves of not wanting to be together throughout their lives. They may not talk to each other for years, but they may end up wanting to live together. What was your label?
I think I was the creative one in the family, and I think that was the direction that I was almost put into, but I followed it, I loved it, and in fact to this day I'm doing things that are creative and I feel as though that's my strong suit. Contrarily, I feel that I'm not very good in areas that maybe I could have been, but was not encouraged either because that was your area and we didn't want to step over our bounds. I think we wanted to, as you point out, give each person their own avenue, and I didn't want to get in the wrong place. In that sense. So I think I was the creative one.
What about one of the questions that I asked when we were talking at the very beginning of the show, and that is how do men, how do husbands and lovers affect the relationships between you, between the women we have gathered here today?
One of you was recently married, or you lived together for until 3 years ago when one of you was married, right?
Yeah, me.
What was the effect on that person coming into your very close relationship? We may not want to talk about it.
No, it's so funny because she went with my husband's brother for like a long time.
Oh, that's interesting.
2 brothers and 2 sisters.
Yes.
It was
Wow. Potential fireworks there, huh?
no secrets, you know, whatsoever.
Is this an issue for you?
Not at all.
With men in your lives?
Not at all. We have totally different tastes. Yeah, but there was a time when when she had a boyfriend that I didn't get along with, and there was a lot. We were a lot alike. Her boyfriend, his personality really was a lot like mine, and we clashed totally. So it was kind of like, you know, it was me or him. Yeah. And for a time, he got her, and now I have her. So
We have someone's sister on the line, I would imagine. Let me see if I can take a call here. This is Bill Boggs on Midday. Hello, welcome to our program.
Hello.
Hi.
My name is Francine, and I'm from Queens. And I have a sister 5 years younger than me.
Yes.
And we're originally from Chicago. And I, for some reason, was elected the older sister and more or less the mother. And seemed to, I had to babysit. And when I went with my friends, I had to take the little sister along, resentfully. And when I babysat, I was resentful a lot of times because I wanted to be with my friends. And now we're grown. We have grown children. And she seems to be remembering a lot of the things that happened when we were very young. And she's very angry at me.
You mean the resentment?
Definitely. I don't resent her. I'm not angry with her.
But she resents the fact that you did resent her.
Well, I did at the time because, you know, it seemed to interfere with my social life and the things I wanted to do.
Well, that's, you know, maybe at the beginning of the show when I was talking to Dr. Atkins, you heard the one thing that I offer there, and that is that sometimes going through life, not just sisters, but anybody, has a problem of unresolved problems from the past.
Well, that's exactly what it is. And then our father died when she was very young, and I moved to New York and got married, and my mother and sister, I was very lonesome, and I missed them very much because I left everybody back in Chicago.
Now, let's just pretend for a second that you were here with us, and that question came at a sister seminar. What would you say, Dr. Atkins?
Immediately, I'm thinking of a few responses. One has to do with the fact that sometimes younger sisters remember differently than older sisters. Each of us has our own memory set, and each of us experienced these things differently. So we all remember them, the same exact situation, totally differently. Also, the parents are different. They may have been the same people, but they went through different stages of their lives. So her relationship with your father was quite different from your relationship.
What should she do? I guess, not that we can dispense fix yourself up therapy here, but what would a step be in the right direction?
I think one of the first steps that one needs to take is to appreciate that what she is experiencing, what her sister is experiencing and feeling and remembering is quite real. Even though it's not the woman who's calling's memory and experience, it's different, but it's real. And although she, as a teenager, perhaps resented her younger sister taking her along all of this time, now she has to give her younger sister the chance to at least validate what she's experiencing and say, you know, I guess that really was difficult for you. And try not to negate what her younger sister is telling her. If her younger sister is wanting her to pay for this now,
Right.
that's an issue that, you know, ask her what would be enough. What could I do now?
To get it over with.
Yeah,
right?
and
All
get it out
That's
there.
a good question to ask. Someone else is calling, so let me go back to the phone. This is Bill Boggs, and we're on Midday Live right now. Hello?
Hi, my name is John from Astoria, Queens.
John, you do not sound like someone's sister. Go ahead. What's your question,
Well,
John?
I have 4 teenage daughters,
okay, go ahead.
and the first and the third are very similar in personality and characteristics and just the way they look even. And the second and the fourth are very similar, and they hang out together. The first and the third, and the second and the fourth. Is that the exception or the rule?
For me?
Yeah, for all sisters, would that be like that?
Okay.
All sisters?
Before we attempt that answer, I just want is there anything about this that concerns you? Are you worried about this at all?
No, not at all. They're very
Okay.
happy, and they're great kids, and you know, I couldn't ask for better daughters.
That's nice.
But I just wondered why they were like that. Like the first and the third actually look alike and very similar in their ways and their likes and dislikes. And the same with the second and the fourth.
Wow.
All very good.
That's
very happy.
It's a happy question, yeah.
It is such a nice question. It's also lovely that a father would be calling about the relationship of his daughters. It's a very important connection, the
So,
parent-child.
My life is filled with women. I even have a granddaughter. My oldest daughter is married and has a daughter. And I come from a family of 5 boys.
Right. You know, I just think everybody, I guess it sounds like nature's way. It's really like a genetic question, really, that there's that 1 and 3 go together and 2 and 4 go
There's
together.
often pairings.
I want to ask the man on the line a question. It was something that I had down that I wanted to bring up, whether or not this has affected the women with us. And that is favoritism, a sense of, are you still on the line, sir?
Yeah, sure.
Good. A sense of maybe number 3 thinks that mommy and daddy like number 2 better than they do.
There's always been a competition for first place, and daddy's love, I guess. And number 1, I guess the first was always the favorite, even for grandma, you know. But the love was always there for all of them. But they always strive to please. You know, they're really... I have really, really good kids, and I don't know.
Okay, I just wanted to ask you that question. I appreciate your call.
Okay.
We're going to take another call in a moment, but what were you thinking when we were talking about this? I just had a feeling that
Yes.
part of this was hitting home with you.
Well, I felt I was certainly favored, and then the other sister came along, and then the brother came along, and I think as much or even more difficulty dealing with the firstborn male.
Really?
Because
Why?
that was
your role?
Well, I couldn't compete with a boy. I learned how to compete with another sister, but then a brother comes along who wasn't well when he was born, so he had to be taken extra special care of. and grandmother was there with mother and father, and I didn't know till years later. I was furious, but then there's been times later on where I think that my sister has favoritism. My father's probably listening right now, but that they have a relationship where their communication is wonderful, and I'm learning how to communicate better with him by watching their communication. But there was one more thing that I feel that's helped me a lot in renewing my relationship with my sisters, is the fact that an aunt of mine died a couple of years ago, and with her death I saw my other two aunts talk about their relationship, and I became aware of how important it is to, every day, learn how to relate to your sister and show her that you love her.
Good. We have someone else on the line with a call right now, so let me go to the phone. Hi, this is Bill Boggs on Midday. Hello.
Hi, my name is Joan, and I recently, this past summer, had a very big argument with my sister on vacation, and we only started speaking again in September, and the feeling I really would like to be as close to her as I was before, but it just doesn't seem the same anymore.
What was the argument about?
Oh, children, a lot of things. I think we spend too much time together. Our children are near the same ages, and we're always together. Whatever we do, we go on vacation together, and just recently then we started...
Well, you're not... You're not that together anymore, right?
No, not anymore. We're trying to separate. We live too close to one another, but I still love her. But we just don't have that same feeling anymore. I feel anyway. We can't be as close as we were, where we used to call each other constantly.
Right.
Now it's more, we don't bother to call one another. We don't go out socially.
Okay. What are your ages?
We're 2 years apart, 37 and 35.
Okay. Kate, any thought here as to what might help a smooth transition into a more harmonious way?
Yeah, I think that the smooth transition needs time. And this woman on the phone sounds very eager to restore the relationship she had, and it probably won't be the relationship she had because there's now been a new situation that needs to be dealt with. So to try and expect it to be the way it was is really denying what's actually happened. But to go through it and to go forward with it, and if her sister isn't ready now's not the time, but to keep letting her know that she is available, that she's eager, and she's ready whenever her sister is, and to give her sister the time that it will take her. We each have different time frames and different styles.
Right.
And what my style is, when I'm ready, doesn't mean that Daryl will be ready. When she's ready, it doesn't mean that I am. And that's also part of respecting the other person as she is. She's different than the caller.
All right, good.
I think we have this deep resentment, maybe, towards one another.
A deep resentment.
Well, I'm still angry with her, and I know she's angry with me. The relationship is just not the same as it used to be.
It won't be.
Well, I don't know what else. Actually, if there's any specific thing we can do. The temptation is always make some statement that somehow makes it right, and I don't think we can do that now.
Alan Zweibel, original Saturday Night Live writer and Thurber Prize-winning author of The Other Showman, says, "The Adventures of Spike the Wonder Dog is so smart, witty, and inventive that I had to keep reminding myself that I didn't write it."